How's it going, guys? Music fan here. How you guys doing? Track by track review of U2's Rattle and Hum album. Let's not waste any time. Let's go. First track, Helter Skelter. Really, this track is a fantastic opener for this particular album. It's a live cut, so it's U2 live. Can't really bring much more than that. The only stickler point I have with this particular track, and I'm sure many people have pointed this out, is the beginning dialogue that Bono mentions in the first seconds of this song of like Charles Manson stole it from the Beatles. We're stealing it right back. Yeah, I mean, again, look into the history of the song Helter Skelter by the Beatles and look into the Charles Manson association with that particular track. I mean, I understand that Bono had a good intention of really taking this song from the negative connotations of how Manson connected that track with his own twisted thinking, and then bringing back that song into the prominence of being a good rock song. But this dialogue really didn't make well, especially with the critics already, pegging dartboards at them just for being big and successful and all that, So that's like the only stickler point for me on this track. Van Diemen's Land. I believe this was written with a particular poet in mind. I can't really remember his name right now, but it's an Edge solo track that Edge performs solo with his guitar. And Edge has probably one of the most amazing, beautiful backup vocals ever in a band, at least in my opinion. He does. Really has this very mournful, almost gospelish tone to his voice when you hear him sing. And this track really displays that. And Edge is really awesome solo, but he wouldn't go do a solo album because it wouldn't be as fun as being in a U2 album. And I'd agree. Desire. Again, I bring up that this is one of U2's best ever tracks. Really has that Bo Diddley influenced drum beat from Larry Mullen Jr. and Edge's guitar is on fire, straight fire all the way through. His solo impeccable, and Bono's vocal is really top notch. All the band members are fantastic in this track, and this track is really awesome. Hawk Moon 269, as I've said in my review, this is one of their most underrated and underappreciated tracks in their catalog, at least in my opinion it is. Really has kind of like a guest organ from the great Bob Dylan. And really, one of the things I enjoy about this track is Larry's drumming here really creates the build-up and the energy for this track. And Edge's guitar, impeccable here. Bono's vocal, fantastic, and his lyrical writing in this track really is spiritually yearning, like a needle needs a vein, like drinking caffeine, like I need you just as much as I need a stimulant. And it's really heavy but really cathartic kind of lyrics, but in a good way. And I especially enjoy the ending part of this track where he's harmonizing with the gospel choir, backup female singers, I believe from B.B. King's band Entourage. All Along the Watchtower, this track was performed live. I believe it was in L.A. It's also seen in the Rattle and Hum movie, and it's a great rendition of which leans more heavily towards the Jimi Hendrix version than the original Bob Dylan version, but it's a dual tribute to both Dylan and Hendrix, so it's a live cut, so it's awesome. Can't say any more about that. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. The gospel rendition of this track. This track has gotten a lot of flack from some YouTube fans over the years, and while I will respect their opinion and I won't change their opinion about this particular track, me personally, I believe this is one of the best, if not the best live renditions of this track to appear. And it was the band's collaboration with the choir in Harlem, the New Voices of Freedom. Again, you see them in the film. And just fantastic, glorious, powerful performance with this track. And really the band really had a great chemistry with the choir, and really just only adds the energy and just the sheer power of this track, as if it didn't have much power already. the gospel choir definitely lifts this song up into transcendental levels. And really, I will defend this version to the end, in my opinion at least. Freedom for My People. I think this was taken, again, it's seen in the movie, but it's a recording of, like, I think a couple of street performers playing blues music that the band came across one particular day. I believe it was still in Harlem. And this is a bit of a snippet of it, and I think it's pretty cool, kind of decent. Not much I can say. It's just only a short 30-second track, I believe. And number 8, the live rendition of Silver and Gold. And I've said in the review, but really, as much as I like this track and the band performs very amazingly here, it's only Bono's speech at the end, which I like, but then I start to get the idea in my mind that, oh, this is why, or this is one of the reasons why the detractors were only aiming them more as a bigger target. And again, as I've said, like, Edge, play the blues, and he plays a regular guitar solo, and that kind of bugs me. I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong, I like his solo, he performs it powerfully, but I think Bono could have chosen better words to tell Edge to play the solo than what he said over here, But again, that's just only my stickler point. The rest of the performance is top notch, is great. 9, Pride in the Name of Love. This track. This track has a live rendition. It's at the last portion of the film. It's amazing. Can't say much about that. Angel of Harlem. Really is a great horn kind of song. Like it's a more blues influenced, early rock and roll influenced song. Again, the band deepens their influence on American music this time around, and Angel of Harlem is no different in this particular case, and has a really fantastic harmonies going on with the horns and with the rest of the band. It's just a fantastic song. I definitely like it. Love Rescue Me. Sorry, my throat's getting a little bit dry. Probably the most blues influenced track on here. Of course, some of the tracks here are also early rock and roll influenced, but this track is probably the most bluesy that U2 is ever going to get in this stage in their career, or even their entire career. I believe this is when B.B. King had mentioned to Bono that he wrote pretty heavy lyrics at the age that Bono was in. Maybe it could have been When Love Comes to Town. But this track, Love Rescue Me, lyrically great, lyrically fantastic, has a great sense of performance also with this particular track. It's also pretty bluesy in a sense, obviously, because it's that style. When Love Comes to Town, of course, this was done with by this point right now in 2015, the late B.B. King. Was a collaboration between U2 and B.B. King. I think this track, Love Rescue Me and Angel of Harlem, and I believe Desire, maybe Hawk Moon 269 also, was recorded at Sun Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. And When Love Comes to Town is is another great blues, early-ish rock and roll number here, and the band really kind of has that blues aesthetic and really kind of uses that to its fullest on this particular track. And B.B. King, it's a fantastic, just hearing him talk or even hearing him sing, you get this, giant presence here, like a giant in the sense of, just a awesome, amazing musician kind of epicness here. And B.B. King will really be missed. And unfortunately he passed away not too long ago, and my thoughts and condolences go out to his family, and every musician who has been influenced by B.B. King will definitely miss him. I certainly will. Rest in peace, B.B. King. Your music will never die. Heartland. This is the only track that really is reminiscent of Joshua Tree because it came directly from the Joshua Tree sessions. The band used the music to this track as a musical backdrop to the Rattle and Hum movie, in the scene where they're visiting Graceland, the home of the late Elvis Presley. And this track, really reminds me of a B-side to the Joshua Tree sessions called Walk to the Water. And it really has that same atmosphere to it. God Part 2, again, as I said earlier, that it was a polite response to John Lennon's original God song, that original track, and really is also kind of a bit of an opposite flip end to the original God track. Really is just like, I don't believe in riches, but you should see where I live. And despite that, Bono has these very like almost opposing lines going in each between each stanza. Like he always seems to end each and every lyrical stanza with "I believe in love." It's as if he's trying to say that no matter how big or how rich he gets, like the main thing that will always be his purpose for everything he does in his life is indeed love. And of course I'm talking about, the golden rule aspect of love, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That instance, but this track musically is like the most departure of all the tracks here. The rest of the studio cuts here really blues influenced here, really deepening in their infatuation with American music. And really, this is the track that really deviates from that and gives a hint into what U2 will dabble next with in the 1990s. And we are definitely going to get to that later in the month. But this track is one of my favorites because Edge has an insane, crazy guitar part in here. It's just so phenomenal. It's so awesome. And only points ahead to the 90s U2. I might as well put Star Spangled Banner, which is a snippet of the original Jimi Hendrix performance of his amazing rendition during Woodstock 1969. And Bullet the Blue Sky, pretty much the same track. Bullet the Blue Sky is live, and Edge live has only heightened the rawness of the visceralness of the original studio version, and it's live, so I really can't bring much there. And All I Want Is You, the last track off this album, and really ends everything off on a very bluesy note here, no pun intended. And really, this is one of U2's best ever tracks. It sounds very pretty. The music is just so ballad driven, but not in the corny sense. And this is one of the few times where the band's experiment with blues music really works. And not that the other tracks before that they don't work in this particular sense, but oftentimes I could hear how awkward the band felt playing these particular blues tracks. I think the most track into that was probably Love Rescue Me, although I'd still like that song. All I Want Is You, though, is an example of where the experiment works, and really this track is pure quality. Bono's vocal is just really full of harmony and all throughout his vocal timbre in this particular track. And Edge's guitar solo, awesome, just amazingly brilliant. And the orchestration at the end of closing off this track is just fantastic, and only closes off the 80s U2 phase in a very elegant way, and one of my favorite tracks. So yeah, it's been a track-by-track review of Rattle and Hum. Give me your thoughts below. What do you think? What's your favorite tracks off this album? And that's it. Mr. Music Fan. Track by track, Rattle and Hum, U2, and I'll see you guys next time.